Boom! Hello and welcome to the Executive Protection Lifestyle Podcast, Season 4.
With your host, Byron Rodgers. This podcast is dedicated to the executive protection practitioner, the private security professional. In this podcast, we're going to talk about the mental, emotional, psychological, physiological fitness that goes into being an efficient and effective executive protection agent. Whether you're in law enforcement, whether you're a mom that's looking at how to protect her children, or a father that's focused on how to protect his family, I believe this podcast has something for all of you. We might even get into some tales from the crypts of true Hollywood stories from time to time. I'm doing this podcast because I feel the reality of this job is simple. If you really want to be good at executive protection, it's more than just a job. It really is a lifestyle. And those of you who've been in the game for any serious amount of time, you already know what I'm saying is true. So if that sounds interesting to you, enjoy the show. Out.
This is my MCK. There are many like it, but this one is mine. If you've got a firearm sitting around, a pistol that you are not doing anything with, get an MCK. They make them for every single model. If you want a micro conversion kit that will turn your handgun into a force multiplier, get one, man. They are ultra affordable. CAA MCK micro conversion kits are changing the game, y'all. So if you don't have one, you need to get one. Get one. Your women, children, people that are less physically potent will be able to fire your firearm to farther distances with more accuracy. You will be able to fire your firearm to farther distances with more accuracy. I want to get one of these into the hands of 100,000 more protectors this year, because ultimately we are only as good as the nation is only as good as its protection. Your home is only as safe and as good as your ability to protect it. MCK, go get one. Drop your handgun in, take it to the next level. Out. Boom.
Boom. What's up, you guys? Here we are for another awesome podcast. I am so excited. I've got an amazing guest, the infamous Jon Burke of Next Level Combatives. How you doing? How you doing, John?
What's up, Byron? How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just, trying to take over the world, bro.
There's room for both of us.
Yeah, man. No, 100%. It's all about the team. It's all about the team, man. So yeah, man, I really, by just the grace of God, discovered you quite recently. You sent me a message a while back, and then I started kind of digging into your stuff. And what I really am excited about, besides your passion and your competence in the area of hand-to-hand combat, is really kind of the system, man. Your system is awesome and really intriguing to me. We're going to dig into that, but also professionals need to understand that they need more tools. Like if all you got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? You don't have these different tools on your force continuum. You are going to be maybe using the wrong tool for the equation you're faced with. And that's how we get into trouble as operators. That's how our companies that we represent, our principals, our clients, our shareholders all get drug into things. And I know that a lot of guys and a lot of agents and operators are a little averse to this and they try to avoid it. But what I think you have here is something that is highly effective, that can take some of the guesswork, the chance work, the dogma out of what people have and are trying to learn and implement, when it comes to hand-to-hand combatives, brother. So it's an honor to have you on, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I agree with you about the tools real quick. I do say this, though. I do have one hang up on that expression. The more tools in the toolkit, I'll tell you, here's my hang up. You can give me every tool necessary to build a home, and I can't build you a home.
This is true.
Just having the tools is not the answer, as you know all too well. You live by this sword. I live by this sword. So you give me all the tools to fix an engine. I don't know how to fix a car. So when I hear people say, you just want tools in the toolkit, that's stuffing information just for information's sake.
Right.
So I'm a fan of let's master something and then be a jack of everything else. Let's king or queen something and then do it. Because if you take on jack of all trades, master of none, king of none, a lot of a little, or a little of a lot, and to me, it doesn't work that way. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I
But you do need to.
Yeah. Spoken like a true instructor, man. No, I dig that 100%. And that, ladies and gentlemen, just gives you some insight into the simplicity and effectiveness of what my man's bringing, of what Jon's bringing to the game, you know, and I agree with you 100%. I have to say it differently. I'd say one, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Leonardo da Vinci, like, I want it simple. I want the least amount of joints and failure points on it, 100%. And then there are certain competencies that you guys need to master. You need to master one hand to kill, one hand to heal. You need to master saving life, and you need to be able to master violence, which is a race to cause catastrophic damage, and or you need to master these two things. There's gray areas in between, right? But on your combative side, it's not just guns, guys, girls.
Far from it.
You know, this is far from it, you know. And then there's your social dynamics. That's another huge competency, you know, that you can move things in either direction. So, let's get into a little bit of your huge background with all the experience you have. And I'm before we even start, I'm just telling you, man, like, you're a humble guy. I know you're a humble guy. That'll come out in conversation. Let them know who you are. You know, let it all out. Bro.
I have a hard time with that.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Man. Yeah, whatever you need. You're the boss.
Appreciate it. So, background, man. How'd you get into combatives? What's your experience level, you know?
So, growing up with a single mom, dad left when I was like 10, 11. We had no money. She's out the door 4 a.m. on a train ride to New York City, getting home at 7 at night. Friends of mine were doing karate, right? This is, I'm 18, I'll be 40. So it's 30 years ago. And it was like, hey, mom, I want to join. We had no transportation, no money, blah, blah, blah. A friend of mine's older brother, very wealthy family, but they still taught them the value of earning their own money, even though they're very wealthy. His older brother was a black belt in Taekwondo. And he said, hey, his name was Tony. Tony will give you a lesson 2 hours for $10. I was like, man, I can figure out $10. You know, I can do chores. I'll figure it out. Because 30 years ago, $10 got you a lot of 50-cent pitchers of beer and 10-cent wings. And, you know, so $10.
Yeah, $10 is like $100 back then, man.
Right.
You know?
So I did one lesson with Tony in his basement doing karate. And he said, I'm going out of town for a week. I'll call you when I get back. And Tony is 5'9", 135, 140. He calls me when he gets back. He's like, hey, you ready for your second lesson? Let's do it. I go over and he says, let's do something different today. Now I'm 6'2", 210. He's 5'9", 135. He said, why don't we wrestle? And I'm like looking at my chops. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, do you want to die in your own home? Like, come on, bro. So anyway, he proceeds to treat me like a redheaded stepchild. I get choked, arm. I'm like, what are you doing? He said he read an article in Playboy magazine when you read the magazines. And the article was the Gracie Challenge. It was the $100,000 challenge by the Gracie brothers. And they said, if anybody can come out and beat us, we'll give you $100,000. And if we beat you, you don't have to pay us anything. Ultimate marketing dream, right? So,
100%.
or for lessons call. So he called, he flew out, he trained with Hicks and Gracie for 1 week in his garage. After 1 week, he tuned me up like crazy. He said, we're not doing karate or taekwondo. This is all we're doing. So we were in a basement. Wow. We put couch cushions on the floor. We're hip throwing each other, double legging, arm on the carpet, you name it. And it was a finished basement, but it wasn't fun. And just fell in love. Then I went to a seminar in Connecticut, the same seminar first day Matt Sarah went to. So we were at the same seminar. And then I was up at college. He called me up. What are you doing for spring break? Fraternity was going to do what you do in Cancun. He said, do you want to go train with Royce? I said, yeah. Now this is a year before the UFC ever came out. So he wasn't Royce Gracie yet. He was just some Brazilian dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm in New York. And so my mom's like, you're joining a cult. What are you doing? You know,
these gangsters, these Brazilian
kind of what
gangsters.
I did though, really.
Yeah, right.
Really what I did. So I flew out for spring break and this was March and the first UFC was, I think, November. So then I went back to college. Fast forward, UFC comes on. I'm telling all my fraternity brothers, hey, that's the guy now 30 years ago, you don't know anyone in California on TV. Come on, you're in upstate New York. Who do you know from LA? Yes. And he wins UFC. A week later at my house, nobody still believed me. And he calls. And one of my fraternity brothers picks up the phone. Everyone's sipping and, doing what you do. And he's just looking like this, like starry-eyed, like John. Like, we're like, who is it? It's Royce Gracie. I'm like, give me the phone. Now, remember, I knew Royce a year before he was Royce Gracie, right? So to me, he's just Royce. He's just Royce.
Yeah.
Right? So we get on the phone. He's like, hey, now my last name is Burke. So he calls me Burke.
Okay.
He didn't know the E was silent, and I wasn't going to tell him. So I became Burke. You'll probably end up picking that one. You strike me.
That's how you get these call signs, man. Yeah.
So he just said, hey, Jorge and Grace said you're coming back for a summer internship, like a Karate Kid thing. And he said, I got a new house. You want to live with me? I was like, are you serious? He said, yeah. So I lived with them. And then I went back for the summer, trained every day, helped them with their law enforcement seminars, helped them with the rape prevention, helped them with seminars on the road, celebrities, etc. Got ingratiated big time, went back the following summer, graduated college a half a year early, moved straight to LA. And then I was like homeless, sleeping in a parking lot with a gun on my hip. I didn't even know how to use a gun. You know what I mean? I'm just finding the safest parking lot I could find. And I was homeless. I had cardboard cutouts in my trunk with my clothes folded. And I would shower at the Gracie Academy, and I would eat at the smoothie bar because the Gracie died. And I would just train. And then they finally offered me a job being like the janitor, errand boy.
Like anything, the everything, the runner, the shoe shiner, whatever.
Yes.
To do.
Yes. So, but back then, you're laughing, but that's the truth. I pick up laundry. I picked up Elio Gracie at the airport, which paid off. I taught myself Portuguese. So if we're going to Brazil, Byron, let me know. I got to protect you in Brazil now.
Okay. Hey,
with the language, just with the language, you got the physical. So, but anyway, I just got so much time with them and became part of the team, inner circle. Next thing you know, I was his right-hand man on his fight teams for pride fighting. I did Gracie challenge matches, but throughout time, special forces groups, different military units, DA, ATF, FBI, the teams, CAG, Coronado, they'd all come to the Gracie Academy because it was the place, right? And so I got to start to work with operators and military and law enforcement, LAPD gang unit through the Gracie Academy. And it just sort of evolved. Then I was leaving, and CAG offered me a contract at Fort Bragg. So I moved straight to Fort Bragg, was training them, members of 82nd, Ranger Battalion, and then 9/11 happened. And all my contracts were revoked because they all got deployed. Except CAG kept their contracts since they're mission specific. So they came, I kept training them. And then a retired guy who was on the Mogadishu operation, Norm Hooten, very good friend of mine for 30 years. He ran the Mogadishu operation. He called me and said, you want a job working with the government? So I started training counterterrorist training, advanced counterterrorist training.
Norm Hooten, was this the guy, the character, the Hoot character? Was this?
Yes, sir. That's one of my close friends. So the whole team, dude. Yeah. So those guys, all my students from Mogadishu.
Man,
the ones that survived, like Rick Kachoch, all these guys, they're all my boys. And to this day, we're all in touch. Rick, one of them has been trying to help me out a lot with your industry as far as training different teams for different people. And we're all still super tight. Yeah, great dudes. And so then Norm called me, Hoot called me up and said, Burke, everyone called me Burke. Burke, you want a job? So I got hired on to be an advanced team leader for counterterrorist training, 30,000 feet for the Air Marshal Program. So they'd go through FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training, then they'd come to SAIC, and I was a team leader for hand-to-hand. So the CAG operators were team leaders for firearms and tactics, and I was a team leader, and I got another guy on team lead for hand-to-hand.
Wow.
And so that's kind of spawning. And then 9/11, then the contract went on that I just didn't want to live in Fayetteville anymore. North Fort Bragg was like, So I moved to Orlando, Florida, opened my gym, and here we are.
Boom, man. That was outstanding.
The longest part was
outstanding.
And since then I've kept in touch training law enforcement. I've stayed on top of it, but I also have a local commercial gym right here in Orlando as well.
Outstanding, man. I'm proud of you, man. I love the freaking do whatever it takes stories, man. Like a lot of that stuff is lost. I interviewed Sandile. He was a guy we worked with in Africa for years on executive protection details, man. And he was our guy. Like every time we would go there, and I don't even know how many times we went there, but every time we'd go do South Africa and stuff in Africa, he was our guy. And he was like just our guy. And then I do this podcast with him later on. He's doing his own thing down there, and it comes out during the interview. He's like, yeah, man, I would sleep in my car. I was borrowing money so I could get, to where you guys needed me. I was like, and I'm just like, sandals. We call them sandals, man. I'm like, sandals. Bro, you could have said one word and you would have been sleeping in the nicest hotels next to in my room, whatever we needed to do.
Right.
I could have, but the thing is, man, he was willing to do whatever it takes. And he has a whole new life because of it. And i.e., same thing, you're doing whatever it takes. And now, like, you want me to wash the floor? What do you want me to do? You want me to throw away the trash? this stuff is lost. And this is some of the magic that helps you create a new reality, that humility, and that servant's heart. This whole the ego, man, has to be managed, but it can be managed well. If you can take pride in being a good follower and a good servant, a disciplined follower, a disciple, of the things and the people that have what you want, this is really how you can really do some magical stuff in this life.
Of service. Yeah, man. So you're absolutely right. I was a real life karate kid. I really was. And I could eat up 10 hours making you cry laughing with the hazing I went through by the Gracies.
I'm sure, boy.
I'm talking literally chasing a kid down the street, holding his gi in hand because always would trick me on the alarms. I'm running in the back of a pickup truck, but you said the best. That's what makes it magical. That's why I'm an abrasive New Yorker, but I've toned it down tremendously. But I have a hard time with the participation trophy that everyone needs a hug, the pay for belt promote. I tell everyone, just because your parents pay for a college degree doesn't mean you're going to get the degree. You have to do the work. You have to earn the grades. Yeah. But nowadays, society, it's changed. Not to get on that, but I did bust my ass. I was selling copiers. I sold sporting goods equipment. I was a waiter at the Cheesecake Factory. And if somebody asked for more dark bread, I'd be like, you just had a loaf. I would get mad because I didn't want to do that. I was terrible, but I did whatever. I got fired a lot, but I did whatever I had.
This is the struggle, man. People need to know about it. I love it. Real quick, let me roll 2 questions. Yeah. One, do you think Hoot or any of those guys would be down to come on the podcast?
I believe so. I believe I could get Hoot. I might be able to get Cube. One of the guys who was in, if you remember, one of the operators was in the mini bird that went down. And he was pistol fighting his way out until his team could save him. I'm super tight with that guy. Yeah. I believe I can. Norm is like the ghost.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I believe I can get. I'm almost positive I can get one of them on for you. I know Hoot's the ideal, because even within CAG, he's one of the legends within.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I can get you that. I can get you if you want some SEAL guys. I mean, I know you're connected. I know that. Yeah. So, but I'm close.
No, everybody is, man. The network becomes more valuable the more people we add to it.
So I can get you. I can. For sure.
That would be amazing just to listen to that story from the mouth and then from, one of the guys who was there and just to walk through that with them, man. Because I think that there's just so much value that people can gain from learning and listening to those guys and those experiences.
Would you say, so you got into this game, you got into martial arts, the family situation, all that stuff, boom, 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 boom. You started training, folks at the top of the game, which is why I'm really excited for me and you to work together and create some stuff for the EP game. And then let's see, what would you say about combatives geared towards the working professional and really kind of the difference between what everyone's watching on UFC and stuff like that and kind of what you're teaching guys that have to actually work and apply these and implement these combatives?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Keep in mind, not to you, I say this to your listeners, keep in mind, and I say that respectfully because some of them may be very well educated, I don't know. But UFC, they're very talented athletes, but this is a sport, right? This has evolved into a sport. My coach, Royce Gracie, is the only one to have done no weight limits, no time limits, 4 fights, 1 night. No one before or since has done that, right? Not in an organized.
Because it's crazy. Right? Yeah, no, not in an actual sport. Now, and it's out in the hood, maybe.
Yeah, or at battle back in the Roman Empire or war. Yes, but in a sportive event, right? Like you train, I know you do. Think about how tired you get from grappling a tough dude. Do 4 of those with these coming in hot with no rules, right? So it's evolved, but what happened was because of that and the Dan Severn fight that ran the pay-per-view over, the businessmen said, hey, people were calling for refunds. They had to start implementing rules, time limits. Most people don't know why the UFC changed the way it did. And so what happened was the Gracies then sold it off, said, we've done our point. We've marketed our name, our style. Royce is now Royce Gracie, blah, blah, blah.
Brand.
They sold off UFC. Today, UFC, you've got time to study your opponent. You have rules. You have judges. So far, we have 3 things we do not have in a real situation. You have weight classes, 4 things. As I give you details for what the UFC has, those are the polar opposites of what the street does not have, which is why training is even more important. You have the ability to tap out. You have the ability to throw in a towel. You have referee or doctor stoppage, right? You have bonus checks, which are going to promote certain types of activity. You have fines, which will promote certain types of RT the other direction. You have all these psychological battles going in, and you have time to prepare. As Hoyce used to say, the biggest enemy is not this, it's this, right? Which I'm pointing in my head, the monster we create. With that said, these guys are phenomenal athletes. In real world, you don't have any of that. You're walking down the street, a guy checks you in the shoulder, you turn around, and even my Instagram guy, right? You can't go ding, 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 sub one reload. Right? That you can't do that, or you can, but you go to jail. And then you're also not all of a sudden at 24 feet apart. Start like, are we touching gloves? What are we? No, it's just on, right? So your everyday Joe or Joanne, whether they're working class citizens as far as in corporate America, whether they're high net worth, high value assets, or just a regular dude like me, learning to protect yourself, you're your first and last line of defense, even if you call 911, right? Mm-hmm. Cops' average response time in certain areas lags, right? It's just different.
Yeah, so let's just say it's 5 minutes because it's like the best day of the week, right?
That's generous, but okay.
Right.
So you're your first and last line of defense. So saying, I'll just call the cops or I carry a gun. If you're not trained on how to retain the weapon, how to deal with malfunctions, how if the weapon gets taken, if you're not trained in all that stuff, you're failing.
You're just carrying a gun for the other guy.
You're a liability. You're a liability.
You're carrying a gun for me. Yeah, exactly.
And then, if you're not trained, but everybody doesn't realize you can't go to the gun first either. Hand to hand is 99% of the time what happens first. Now, the escalation could be a beeline rocket ship or it could be a gradual escalation, as you know. But UFC versus reality, when people say, or you get women to say, well, my husband's former Marine. My husband's Byron Rodgers. And I would say to your wife, I'd say, that's incredible. I'd love to meet the guy and work. But is Byron with you right now?
Right.
Is Byron with you at the grocery store? Is Byron when he's working details? Because the world knows that Byron's not home a lot. Is Byron with you? So that's how I talk to women. Oh, I live in a gated. I can tell you every excuse I hear about why not to train hand to hand. Or I'll just buy a gun. I have a gun. So it is different. Everybody should learn to protect themselves because relying on someone else to protect you is like relying on someone else to feed you. Right. So I just teach people to fish.
Yeah, man. No, it's the truth, dude. I always say protection is the one skill that allows you to maintain everything you love. Everything you love.
Amen.
Everything hinges on this one skill. You want your life, you better learn how to eat and get food. You have to do it. Like protection's a little more like an insurance policy, right? But if you ever need a parachute, homie, you need a parachute. Nothing else will work.
It's irrelevant at that point, right? So, you're right. Yeah, and here's the thing too. And I mean, somebody not like you maybe, but even federal agents, like when they travel, let's say international mission status, when they land on checkpoint, they have to check their weapons on foreign soil, all hand to hand. When you're in the terminal, even if you're the hottest gun guy in a JJ Rakaza, right? He's still, when he goes to travel to a competition, he has to check his weapons. What if he gets an unruly fan? I'm not saying he doesn't. I know nothing about JJ. I just picked one of the big shooters that I know.
Yeah.
What does he know how to protect himself without his force multiplier, without his edge weapon, right? So I teach from zero, literally empty hand, all the way up and how to blend the skill sets as well for offensive, defensive, but more so from situational extraction. Get yourself out of that situation as fast as possible.
Nice. And that mission suits all civilian protectors and especially private security professionals like myself. That is our mission set. It's not, I don't want to roll around with you. I don't want to get locked up with you. I want to leave. You can call me all the names, all the stuff. Like I want to leave, get my principal to a safe place and protect the mission. So no, that's awesome. That's why I really love the stuff you're doing. Real quick, let's switch gears and let's do a real quick little tactical protection review, man. I got a flick here. We're going to run through. It's like a 30-second.
Throw me on the
30
spot.
second deal.
This I thrive.
All right.
Civilian jiu-jitsu jobs. Yeah. Okay. We clearly have no audible, but I can tell you right now there's zero communication just by watching.
Yep.
There's no tactical approach versus controlling the limbs or how to address. The fact that one guy on the far left, when the other two officers tried to engage, it became a stacked line, which was good for the suspect. Obviously, you got three people in the same spot. If this guy just opened fire, he's got three dead cops. They took zero tactical. Okay, so I'm just talking.
Okay, so yeah, all right.
I'm not as smooth as you, right? So I don't have control.
I have the controls, unfortunately.
Right.
Okay, so send it from the beginning, man. Once you start saying something, I'll stop.
Yeah. Pause.
Boom.
Okay. So from right there, for example, suspect on the ground, you got an officer on our left facing screen, what I call the catcher's position, even though the knees are on the ground. Yep. You got officer standing top right, reaching behind him, probably for cuffs, if I had to guess, but maybe a flex cuff. I can't tell what's on his belt and how it's set up. Third officer is not even in the picture. That's a problem, which means first officer in the catcher position is shielding him. Suspects on the ground flailing legs. Grappling, which this now falls under, is 95% hips and legs. If you don't get some type of, I don't like to say control, but manipulation over the lower body, the suspect or whoever it is still has a great opportunity to fight. It looks like he might be reaching for a tase. I can't tell. He's reaching behind, so maybe it's some type of a spray. And now the guy circles out because freeze. So facing screen, guy off the side view mirror, officer facing down with that we can see his chest. He had zero ability to manipulate the joints, which allowed the suspect to spin to his right. If you see the suspect, it's up to his right. And coming up to the right, boom, he's already turning. So the other officer there, instead of reaching for whatever he's reaching for, because the suspect is clearly more engaged in the hand-to-hand, officer should have taken both hands, gone to a more secure position. Like, for example, I teach knee on belly for tactical position for both EP as well as law enforcement. Nice. You know what I mean? Get the weight on the center of gravity on the core, so suspect at least is staying on the ground. But it's almost like they're afraid. They back off. If you watch their body postures, when the guy, the guy on the left is already sitting upright. Look at him; he's upright. The other guy's behind him. The other guy's, so it's almost like he's trying to back away. He's in that hollowed out kind of posture. It's hard to tell, but this is what I do, right?
He's all the way out here,
Yeah, so one guy's holding a wrist. You have no leverage at the wrist, actually. You have zero leverage that way. So all the strength is near the guy's torso. So this is going on for far too long. They're not engaging. The guy's changing his position. And now I see a third head on the bottom right leg by the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, there's someone under there.
There's someone in there. Like, where did the dude just come from? That's what I mean. Like, so it shows you someone was trying to get the legs is now what I'm seeing. And you had two officers on the upper body. The reason this fell apart is twofold. Lack of training on the officers and lack of communication. Because even with lack of training, if you're communicating the whole time, hey, get that leg, watch out his right hand. And at least you're speaking to each other. I can tell you they didn't talk to each other, and the training is definitely compromised. And the suspect wants out more than they want to apprehend.
Yeah, they're being too, and a lot of this, in my opinion too, comes from a lack of experience being physical. These guys, in my opinion, were hesitating to get up. One guy dove in, and the other guys are trying to keep everything out here at an arm's distance where you're just not that strong and all that stuff.
No leverage. Yeah.
And they're looking for their tools. If they start getting bodies on him, they can start doing a lot more. But that's your realm.
Correct. No, but you're right. And then you're saying right now from here, the fact he's able to just get into a car, let's keep that going. So he opens his door. This officer right here, instead of reaching through the window, oh my God, the danger he puts himself in. You have another officer. Now, the front officer, the big guy with his back to us on the left of our screen off the side view mirror, takes zero tactical approach. He's actually useless standing in the direct line of sight behind his partner here. He's useless.
Yeah.
It's one man right now. That's one man right now.
Yeah.
And the guy here, look, he's just moseying. He still doesn't have a weapon deployed off the back tailgate. He's got nothing and the other guy just fighting his way out of it. And they're just trying to kind of like hold him. Where did this take place? Do you know?
I don't know anything else about this. My man, and it does kill me. So this honestly, I don't know, man. When I look at this guy, he looks like he's psychologically defeated just by his body language. Yeah, he got pretty much owned and left, and I'm going to chalk that up to physical fitness. And this also comes, this is why we say it's more than just a job. Your habits, the amount of intensity and the duration of intensity that you can bring to something like this. He's getting up in the corner one knee at a time. Physical fitness is an issue. My man back at the end here, he did take it. He got owned and thrown to the ground like a rag doll. You can see he's demoralized just by the way he's.
Which means now look, roll that back. When he got dropped, which tells you he has zero base or balance in a combative situation. And most when I go teach most seminars and I say let's review footwork, most of the guys get mad at me. Oh, we know footwork. Okay. And then we get into the combatives and they fall like that. So you see how he's walking up very casually?
Yeah.
You just have what was considered lethal force in law enforcement, and no weapon is deployed. Not that they should deploy and use a weapon, but I'm just saying no weapons deployed. The casual posture of this big officer, the casual approach from the rear tailgate, and the guy's reaching through the window.
Yeah. And then
look at it.
And then we get one. Yeah, we do get some tasers on target, but yeah, man, overall, and I do these videos with respect to the guys that are out there in the field. Of course. It's I wasn't there, you guys were there. Obviously we try to protect your identities and all that stuff, but we got to learn from these things so they don't happen. Fortunately, this event, in my opinion, went well, and the fact that none of them got murdered out there on the streets, like it went horrible. But the fact that it didn't get worse, that this guy didn't have lethal intent, that he just wanted to get away. I believe these guys were blessed, man.
Sorry, Byron, but you're right. I could not agree with you more. Now, look, you've got three guys almost looking at a car like it's almost like they're admiring the car. Look at their posture. It's almost like, damn, look at that Ferrari drive by. And I'm not trying to pick on them. I respect the law enforcement industry tremendously, but the frustration I have in my voice is I have solutions. These gentlemen could be so much more effectively trained with very minimal time added. Mm-hmm. And everybody worries, we don't have the time. But tell you what, they have the time when it's time to qual for shooting. Why is there not hand-to-hand qual fitness? And I've developed a streamlined hand-to-hand system for everyone. Nice.
I love it. And let's get into that, man. So let's talk a little bit about that system. P4 101, man. So let's break the system out for everybody.
Okay. So my P4 tactical program is all about my 4 principles of planning, preparing, so that you can prevent, and if it goes south, prevail.
Nice.
Or really, prevail is a win, you go home safely. Okay. Mm-hmm. Whether it turns physical or not. And it's a program that utilizes general concepts and principles versus tons of multi-step techniques. And so, for example, if my hands represent people and you have a bad guy and a good guy, and the bad guy's behind the good guy's back, everyone in the world knows, don't let them get behind your back. So what do? Turn around. That's a general principle, concept, or solution.
Right.
A technical answer is the bad guy off your left side, your right side, or dead center? Well, why? Well, because now I got to figure out which tactics. Exactly. And how do you remember that under stress and pressure of a real life situation, whether it's a street fight or a police officer or protecting your print? It's very difficult because of the OODA loop, right? So what I talk about is a general concept of principle. And it's hard to get into digitally without you literally, right? But it's all about getting through the space of the arm and the body. And then the world's your oyster, which officers have been doing since the beginning of time. Military guys, TAC units, they cuff them up. It's at the shoulder joint, the arm goes behind the back, not at the elbow. And so it's a principle-based program. It integrates with all current skill sets, weapons included. It's all of, So whether your weapons are deployed, primary, secondary weapons, or you just kit it out and you're standing on detail, somebody reaches for your weapon, my program falls under the umbrella of one concept, which is shoot the triangle. And I don't mean shoot, I mean attack through the triangle physically, which is from your wrist to your armpit to your hip. So I'll see if I can. So if I stood up kind of natural, I don't know if this is work, but from my wrist to my armpit to my hip, you see the triangle? Well, I'm broken up. Not a clean triangle, but if that's right. If I put my hands on my hips, there's a triangle.
Yeah.
If I'm reaching appendix, triangle, hands in pockets, triangle, hand behind the back, triangle, reaching, triangle, tough guy, triangle. And if there's no triangle, I teach officers how to create one. And once you get through the triangle, I teach them how to manipulate the elbow and shoulder and secure the suspect. And if it falls apart, follow the current protocol. Disengage, deploy if necessary, disengage, make the call, take whatever you do already. So my program meets all legal requirements, does not even address the neck. We don't, and I've been saying you don't need the neck since way before George Floyd. For 10 years, I've been saying you don't need the neck. It's a nice bonus to have, but you don't need the neck, right? You don't need it. And so it keeps everyone safe, reduces liability. I even developed its own language. So for example, somebody like yourself who's got his own AP team or teams,
Yeah.
You guys already have your own comm systems. Now, if you have your own comm lingo, let's say you all spoke Portuguese.
Right.
Your average Joe, unless they were Brazilian, wouldn't really know how to communicate with what you're attempting to do.
Right.
So I developed my own DT language so that if we're coaching each other, we're on a joint task force apprehension, or you and I are trying to handle this guy who's attacking them. You and I speak code words and we know exactly what it means and hit it. And then we have a digital component training system to go along with it. And it's a trackable system. It's a fixed learning path. We have a minimum. You have to score a minimum of 90% on your written tests on our program before you can advance. Nice. And then people like yourself, any of the other chiefs, sheriffs, you name it, can use it as both preventative measure to reduce liability of maybe officers who aren't getting enough training. We can up their training digitally. And then also say, hey, look at Byron. He's spending this much time on the portal. Let's promote him, or what have you. And you can also see which officers have more lean towards more violence, which don't. So my whole interactive system is really powerful, very powerful as far as reporting and tracking officers' training.
Outstanding, man. That is really cool. Just to get those analytics out of your your employee, the guys you're training. What part is the online training? Like, how does it teach the actual shoot the triangle, the whole entire system there?
It's full instructional. So one of the pet peeves I've had about watching instructional videos forever, since YouTube and everything came out, was I find instructors, there's a million great instructors, but I find that instructors will either, let's say it's an 11-minute instructional video, they'll talk for the first 6-7 minutes before they even explain or demo rep. So before they get to the problem, they're talking. They're banter. Then they finally explain the problem. Then they banter some more. Then they show maybe one rep. Then it's banter and the video's over. And I'm like, wait, I want to see the reps again. Right. So what I did in my program was I took my exact curriculum and I made sure every video was under 5 minutes, 5 minutes, with full instruction, on-screen graphics, cues, arrows, like full breakdowns, as well as 4 reps per technique or per solution, 3 normal speed reps, 1 slow motion rep. Everything about my program. So it forces you to start from, hey, everybody, here's day 1, minute 1, hour 1, all the way up to you understand the system. You've completed the cycle. You've passed all the tests. Now it's open training, but they have a fixed learning path. They have to learn it in a very specific way because it's what resonates best with brain apprehension and comprehension. And then the ability to regurgitate the information. Because I tell everyone, when you're relaxed, when you know you have a simple answer, it's easier to stay relaxed. And when you're relaxed, 3 things need to happen in a fight or in a combative situation. Stay relaxed for information recall and information execution. Knowing all the stuff in the world is irrelevant if you freak out, right? If you can't stay calm and relaxed, the training is irrelevant. It goes right out the window. It turns into fight or flight, So it's all based on a principle, which is easier to remember under stress and pressure.
That is, it says a lot about you being an instructor, man, because that's an intelligence right there that I find a lot of guys, that maybe have a tab that are like, I'm going to be an instructor, or like, that might have the pedigree and may be able to do the deed. A lot of the actual learning, the how to get a human to learn stuff is missing from a lot of those brands. That makes you much more of a force multiplier. I really dig the communication thing, man. I have experienced it and seen it, man. Teams that communicate better performed way, way, way better. When I was in high school playing 6A ball, we had a whole bunch of plays we had to memorize. Me, I'm dyslexic and all the stuff, so I'm not going to memorize 50 some plays in high school. So I came up with a language for the team. We ended up going to state and doing the best that the school had ever done like that. You guys know we're doing CQB, we're communicating. We're moving principles, we're communicating. Why are we not communicating in a hand-to-hand situation?
And most of the time, everyone spends 99% of their training on 1%, the firearms, meaning there's a 1% chance that firearm's ever going to get deployed, let alone discharge rounds. 1% chance. Right. There's a 99% chance, even for you, that you're going hands-on if it escalates first. It's verbal always first, right? It's in the awareness space, the verb. And then they spend 1% training for the 99% cause, which is hand-to-hand. And so sadly, a lot of officers have never even been hit in the face until they get on the job, right?
Right.
And that's, as a Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you say, like, take a black belt, punch him in the face, becomes a brown belt real quick, because if you're not used to getting hit and dealing with that violence coming at you, everything else on you becomes a weapon for them.
Right. 100%. The cognitive dissonance that comes from experiencing something that's new.
Huge. So, yeah. And so this hands-off attitude of, I'm with my husband, I'll call the police, or police officers, I say they're the biggest gang in the world, right? You have local, city, county, town, state, federal, airport, Interpol, federal air marshal, right? But what happens for the officer who's off the job, who arrested me for something, and of course I'm innocent because no criminal did the crime. And I'm in jail. I call it, I'm in gym, but I'm in jail working out every day, seeing the officer's face in my head. And that officer, to him, I'm just some random scumbag number. Fast forward 18 months, I get out. Officers long forgotten about that apprehension, but I haven't. Now I see you with your daughter at Walmart and you're by yourself. You don't have your friends. You can't just deploy your weapon.
Right.
Now what do you do? Most people neglect hand-to-hand also because you got to get some bumps and bruises, It's hard to do hand-to-hand. But in my hand-to-hand course, since I stress that we're training partners, not training opponents, because I also have a hard time swallowing this pressure test pill that everyone seems to be pushing out there, is if we're training partners, no one should get hurt. We're there to get educated.
100%.
We can safely work drills and safely work scenario-based training where no one needs to, has to, should get hurt. In my world, 95 to 98% of the injuries are self-induced. Somebody went too hard by choice, their ego. They wanted to see if the move really worked. You know the deal. So, so training opponents is not it. We're training partners. So my courses, I pride myself on saying no one has ever been hurt in my course, not to my knowledge, other than maybe their feelings.
Good. We don't care about feelings.
Right. And pressure testing, things like that is where you get hurt. The blower suit, which is an awesome suit, but that gives a false sense of things too. Like I could go on, but wouldn't want to bore you with my education as far as that goes. I just feel like you put on a padded suit and you tell me to execute my techniques, which include, let's just say you're going to tackle me. I'm making this up. I Muay Thai the back of your neck. I'm throwing knees to your sternum. Okay. Well, that's great, but you're in a suit, a padded pillow. You're going to keep coming at me, right? Because you're not really absorbing the knees. Right. So you're just being the work. Let me give somebody a nice, solid Muay Thai knee to the sternum. Let's see if they keep coming at me. So now creates doubt in that person who's executing the techniques, but the person wearing the pads is still pressing forward. Right. So it creates doubt on the application of the technique. The person who's being the bad guy wearing the suit is not playing the role properly because the person out there who on the streets used to getting just tie kicked in the leg or a knee in the sternum or a shoulder lock. Nobody. But when you have all this protection on, it's easy. So when you do things like that, or pressure testing, people get hurt. So if people put me and you in the ring and let's say we're teaching a class, and they hand you a shock knife. They say, John, use your P4 system to disarm Byron and get the shock knife. Yeah. And I'm gonna say, here's what I do as an instructor. I can't. Look at me. You're the man, and you can. Of course not. He knows what I'm doing. I just spent the day teaching it to him, or you were teaching it to all of us. So Byron is not going to attack me like said person on the street. Byron's going to attack me only to defend against my option. So keep your army tight. You're going to do these little cuts. You're going to keep me away. It's not real. It's not a true pressure test. You're now training against a system or a technique or a position or a principle versus what said terrorist threat attitude crazy dude would do. They come at you like that. That's why these exist. Yeah. So pressure testing is also tricky too. It can create a false sense of, how good or bad you are. And people get misled by that. I've seen it too many times. People get misled by pressure testing.
Interesting. So,
and it creates a risk of opportunity to injure somebody, right?
Absolutely. I've heard it said though that I don't know, usually from your boys, from the jiu-jitsu guys, if it can't be tested at speed and the results can't be replicated, it's difficult to know that you can depend on it in a real life encounter. Something along those lines is what, a lot of them, there's martial arts that are
theoretically, like I'll do the crane beak and the thing and the thing. I'll gouge his eyes out. Right. You ever gouge someone's eye out? Like, you have any idea like what you're really doing, dude? So what would you say to people that are like, well, like, how can we test this amongst each other to know that it works and things like that when it comes to your system?
Great question.
I'm asking from ignorance. Yeah.
So what? No. What I think that's great. I do a safe, and some people might scoff at it, but until you get in the mat room with me and take how I do my pressure testing, hold the scoffs, right? So what I do is, let's say you're blindfolded. I'm your aggressor. No tricks. I reach for your gun. You got to respond. I come at you. Got to respond. I do a sensitivity field test. Take away the vision. Right? Dials you more into the mechanics of the body, right? A lot of people don't do this. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I can't obviously throw a sucker punch at you if you're blindfolded.
Yeah.
But I'll grab you in a bear hug. Of course, I'll give a little bit of intensity, a little of the intention. I give as much resistance as I want you to know, like keeping your base and all that. Yeah. But what I say to people is, it's more important that you have the education down and you rep it over and over and over and over again. For example, do you shoot human beings to know what it really feels like to shoot a person? Yeah, I knew you were going to like that one. No, I got anything anybody wants to play with me.
Yeah. I've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
Right. You just know it's the motions that matter. It's the cellular memory, not muscle memory. If you held your arm up right now like this, Byron, I know you're a big mofo. Your muscle's not going to just be like this, but you got to tell your bicep to flex, right? Don't show that. That was small and embarrassing. But you know what I mean? So muscle memory to me is not where we want to get to. So I focus more on sensitivity and repetition because it's got to become cellular memory. I work on your brain, not your mind. Your brain closes your eyes when you sneeze. Your mind, like mine, might say, keep them open, keep them open. You can't. Your brain's like, I got this. So the way I pressure test is I build such a repetition base through sensitivity training, working different senses. It's hard to explain without doing it, where it's so ingrained in you. Nobody has to tell you that if a kid runs in front of your car to hit the brake, right? Because if it's anything other than a go, it's brake, a stop sign, a red light, a car, but through repetition. So that's kind of how I do it. I think pressure testing. I like that. Yeah, in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, which I'm Hoist Gracie's first black belt, I swear by that. I feed my kids off. I love Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. I swear by it. Right. So you do a pressure test and you catch them and you do a rear naked choke. Is that truly a pressure test? Because that person say, but I'd have an edged weapon on me and I would have pulled my knife when you mounted on me and I would have stabbed you in your ribs. So somebody can just keep arguing and arguing.
Yeah.
The only true pressure test is, I hate to say it, but if you experience it out there.
Yeah, 100%.
Through multiple repetitions, you'll do it correctly.
Yeah. When you need it. Like that's, I reverted to my training. Like that stuff happens. Like, boom, explosion goes, you start rolling with the boys and you're doing what you're doing and you know what you're doing because you've reps. It's in that back, rear, subconscious, unconscious almost if you're good, what would you say about, you want that unconscious competence with this stuff? What would you say about, is the P4 system applicable to like the executive protection mission? Is it primarily law enforcement? Is it, or would it be a different type of system for the executive protection industry?
So it's completely 100% applicable to anybody in the protection industry, right? Nice. And when I talk to people, I say Leo/Mil/EP. Okay.
Yeah.
I do not teach it to the civilian-based community. So I've also kept the information proprietary. You can't go on YouTube or go anywhere and see my stuff. Now, I'm not saying I came up with a new arm lock that's been around since the Roman Colosseum. That's not what I did. Right. How I've put it together, my principles that I teach, the solutions and concepts, the presentation, that I don't share with anybody other than those that directly hire me. I don't allow filming. I don't allow anything other than eventual logins with tracked IP addresses because I'm on the good guy side. If you look now, anybody, if you're bored, go to YouTube, type in rear naked choke and look how many response, 50, 60, 80,000. A criminal can walk into a public library and YouTube how to do an armbar choke, shoot a gun, you name it, and be a probable threat for said officer EP guy.
Yeah.
because it's free information at this point.
This is the race. It's like an arms race. It's like the dang race to the moon, man.
Exactly. I've kept it proprietary. So unless you are working with me in my system, you do not understand it. You don't know it. I'm not saying it's this magical thing. No, but I'm not openly sharing it with anyone other than those in the protective services.
And
I refuse. So you have the advantage.
Yeah. 100%. No, that's really, really good. Really, really important. I absolutely love that.
Do you remember back in the day, real quick, the WWE, when people were jumping off the roofs and banging on, the backyard, they all wanted to be ready. Don't tell me you did it. You probably did it. Right?
No, I didn't do it. You know what I'm saying?
I might have broke danced.
I may have been in some backyard parties back in the day, but I cannot confirm nor deny.
Yeah. Deny, make counter accusations. So, people are doing that with MMA, UFC. Look at Kimbo Slice in Miami back in that day, right? Masvidal. They all came up in the 305 doing that. So my point is being able to throw hands, being able to know some fundamental wrestling or grab, anybody can catch that.
Yep.
The difference, what separates the EP guys, the Leos and the Mill, is the tactical approach to the hand-to-hand training and execution. That's the biggest difference.
100%. Yeah.
To me, that's what gives the advantage. Right. So the advantage comes up here, and that's what I stress, the mind training, the way I teach my class.
100%, man. It's the difference of when you're rolling and you see Mujahideen, you see the Haji Bob, right? Versus the guys that are we're just sitting there like, are they serious right now? This is kind of sad, man. And we're like, and you're like, that's the difference, man. You're like, golly, they don't know what they're doing and they're playing high stakes games right now,
Yeah.
That's the advantage we want to have, man. I love that. Have you had any, real world feedback of scenarios where this stuff has really helped folks?
Yeah, I've had a handful. I don't blow up my numbers. I don't make up garbage. No, I've had a handful. I would say close to a dozen maybe. And I've trained hundreds or thousands of officers and others. So I've had that I know about. I've had about a dozen tell me how one guy was on a domestic call. He had just done the 2-day course with me and he was on a domestic call. And the husband started leaning onto the table and he didn't know if he's reaching, but on that lean, there's a perfect triangle. He's like, John, I just heard you say, shoot the triangle. He's like, shoot the triangle. He said that guy responded, because I also teach about human nature, psychology of fighting.
Nice.
Class. So like I said, the tactical edge is what matters. So he said, I knew he was going to respond the way he said, based on the way the body was. I saw it in the classroom and I hit it and I got him down. My partner got him down. We cuffed him up. I had another guy tell me he did I also teach vehicle extraction, right? So another guy told me he used it on a vehicle extraction technique, which slowed the tempo down, got the suspect out very safely. No one was hurt. Nothing had to happen. And I've had a handful of officers tell me how they use it. One had to use it on a mentally disturbed patient. One had to use it on threatening to pull out a knife, but never did. And a couple others were just like, oh yeah, I took a guy down, crackhead down. I did this, I did that. But, but again, working. What they like about it is I keep you tactically safe. I do not teach officers, EP guys, anybody to engage in a ground battle, even though I'm a ground guy.
Right.
There's a difference in a one-on-one fight or sport fight or real world. And so I take that approach. Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things I've been looking for and looking at when it comes to combatives for executive protection. We want to leave, man. We want to get out of that situation. We don't want to detain the person for an extended period of time. We may need to control them momentarily and then get out of there, if it's a citizen's arrest or whatever at the most, but that's the mission, man. So that's great to hear you say that. I'm excited. What would you say about the, man, boom. I love it, man. What would you say about the no retrains, man? I saw that on your website.
What do you mean the no retrains? That might be.
So
where's that from?
How soon do people have to refresh on this course?
Okay. I got you. I'm sorry. I wasn't following. So if you do a certification where you get certified, then do a certification is good for a year. I feel 12 months is a fair amount of time. I feel the ones that do 2, 3, 4, that's ridiculous, right? And it's bearish. We know it's like a new car. The minute that class stops, you drive off the lot, depreciation starts unless you stay on it, which is also why I built the digital portal as both supplementary training, or it can be used as continuing education, or it can be used as advanced education. For example, you're going to bring me in, I'm making this up, to do a course, 3-day course for whoever in 3 months. You say, John, I want everyone to be way ahead of the curve. What do we do? Sign up. Everyone gets access to the portal for 3 months, and they've got to go on the fix. So when I get there, it's like the team preps the patient, the surgeon walks in and cuts. We can do it that way. You can do it in conjunction with. You can do it as post-continuing education. And then also through that program, we're going to be doing live DT webcasts discussing the program, breaking it down. I am having trouble. It's an inner law enforcement community where like your team would be in one area. Your team can talk. You have notes on videos that help you refer. Like it's your own study guide for DT. I built my own dry fire program for it. Like, so if you're dry firing, the brain doesn't know if you're really doing a real reload because there's a real problem and really shooting around, or you're just replicating them. So I built that for my hand-to-hand program. You can't dry fire any other program. I built a dry fire program. And here's the catch of the program, which is going to really, I already see, man, I see inside your eyes. I love that. It gets me excited. Here's the hook. I do 2 things in my courses. I prove that you can't make a mistake, that no matter what, the triangle's always available. It's sick. Wait till you see that, which means you might go one way and you go, oh, shoot. You just go the other way. It's always correct. And I ask everybody who pays for the course, I give a money back guaranteed. I say by the first break at the 4-hour mark, if I can't prove to you, you know how to handle every single self-defense situation in the world with or without weapons involved, within reach, of course. I see the bullshit card. I'll give you your, I get that. I'm used to that. Look. I'll give you your money back. I'll bring your issues back home to Florida. I'll go back to my laboratory and I'll re-strengthen. And I've done that every course the last 3 years. There has not been one refund. Now everyone goes like this at the end of 4 hours. I said, was I right? It's hard to, I know. You're like, it sounds salesy. With those eyes. It sounds salesy. But somebody like you, I could take you with your athletic skills, your training, your background, being military. I could take you in 30 minutes. I could get you dialed in where I'll say, now watch. I'm going to grab you this way, execute, boom, boom, boom. And you're going to go, oh my God, boom, 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 boom. You just don't know that you know how to handle it yet. So I'm giving you letters of an alphabet. Right? English language has 26 letters. You can make over 1 million words. So I give you my letters and then I say, build your language.
Man,
it's too easy. Everybody who does it, I'm telling you guys, everybody who does it, they say, where were you when? How come you're? So I'm so tired of being undiscovered. I need your help, brother.
No, we're doing it right now, man. No, and that's the thing that always gets me because for me, it always just made sense the same way. Like all I've ever wanted with my guys, whether it was in the Marine Corps where I was a squad leader or building teams out here, it's always been like, I want to make you a decision maker. That's what I want to make. I'm going to give you principles. Yeah, we can get into tactics, but situation dictates tactics. If you have principles, you can deal with anything. And so everything I teach is principle based. And that's the feedback I get from my school. They're like, I know what to do here because you've given me these principles that I can rely on. When I do my tactical protection reviews, you'll hear me talk about principles to help govern, and the tactics come second. And it always kills me when I see these guys coming up with these complicated 18 moves like tactics. If the guy moves this way, if the sun's at this level, when the thing,
the grass has got to be this,
then you do this move, and I'm like sitting there like, man, come on, man. No one's gonna remember that, man. You got to teach this to C students, bro. So. Which is everybody, man. Simplicity. I got to, how many competencies I have to have in order to be effective at this? You know what I mean? I got to know guns. I got to know medicine. I got to know a little bit about physics. I got
driving, land nav.
Yeah, exactly, man. I'm managing my health at the same time.
IT, comms, right? Exactly. Yeah. You're a babysitter. You got to manage your people. Yes.
100%, man. So I love that. I love the way you're teaching. I love the way that you're anchoring it to people. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Under
stress and pressure, you're going to remember the basics over anything sexy.
Yes. And your baseline of performance, man. And what would you say is the hardest thing you've learned during your time in the field, teaching people and doing this type of work? The hardest lesson?
Two things, both as an instructor and student: patience and changing this gets everyone, changing my Jon Burke, my personal definition of the word surrender. Here's what I mean. In my world, as an athlete? I know you got it right away. As an athlete,
no, I mean, I love the depth, man. I love the depth. I like these guys. The double threat. When you meet a guy, he's physically dangerous, but he's worse psychologically and spiritually and mentally. Like because like people look at us and like, oh yeah, they're barbarians and stuff, but like you only see like 10% of me. Like realistic, what's in here and in here, that's really where we excel. So I love this.
So no, I love that's cool. So I had to change my definition of the word surrender, and here's what I mean. I was a competitive athlete up until the age of 18, thinking I was going to be in the NBA. Clearly, I'm not, right? Right. So surrender means you lost, right? Then I went into fighting, right? Met the Gracies before the UFC. Surrender means you fail, you quit, you lost, you got beat, you suck, go home, blah, blah. What I learned is tactically I changed my definition to I'm learning to allow, to flow, to go with, to adjust, on the fly, whatever words you want to use. I mean, so I went from looking at surrender as a bad negative, I'm failing. Like if you're coming at me and you're taking me down, if I fight it, you're clearly bigger and stronger. You're going to win. Right. I didn't surrender. I failed. I got to. If I go with it, I'll hit the ground, throw the hook, hit the sweep. Now I'm on top. Right. Right. So by learning to flow and allow, even from more the tactical, my own firearms training got better. My parenting got better. My husband got better. But my program that I teach, and I stress that because here's the biggest issue, which ties into this one piece. The biggest issue I think people experience in learning hand-to-hand or executing it is the word control. Okay. You can't control another human being, but you can manipulate, manage, mitigate. You can't control. If you are escorting me somewhere, if I can still move, you don't have control. You have guidance, you have manipulation, you have management, you have direct intentional coordination, but control. So what happens is when people aren't very savvy with hand-to-hand, any move their opponent makes, they try to stop those movements and they spend the whole time I call chasing. Yes. And it looks energy and pitchy and choppy, and it's energy exertion, and your fuel tank goes like this. And with no fuel in the tank, doesn't matter who you are, we're in trouble. So I teach my officers from surrender control, and be a surfer, be a GPS, track your opponent and your suspect. Like that video we looked at, they weren't tracking. If the guy moved his arms, they jumped on his arms. The guy flailed his legs, they tried to get his legs. That's a perfect example of if you try to control someone, you are going to struggle way harder, both literally, physically, as well as mentally and tactically, than if you step back a little bit, not literally, but zoom out a hair. Don't try to manage every movement. And just breathe, stay grounded, and just say, what's the principle? All bad guys reaching. Is there anything he's reaching for in the open concrete? No. So let his arm go. Right? Things like that. But again, block training in the law enforcement world. I don't know how the EP world is and the military, but block training, they only get hand-to-hand training at best 2 to 6, 8 hours one time, maybe once a year, most or every other year. Your average martial artist trains 2 hours a week. So let's go with 8 hours. Let's say a police department trains 8 hours, hand-to-hand block training. Martial arts is 52 weeks near times 2. That's 104 hours for martial artists. You got 8 hours for said law enforcement officer. Is that your neck?
Yeah.
Either the audio is great or you need to see a doctor. All right. So,
we're getting
So what happens is take away the 8. Now 104 minus 8, 96. I'm at 96 hours, an average martial artist, hand-to-hand advantage over an officer. 96 hours out the gate. And that's only on a year one analysis.
Right. And martial arts is in vogue. Like everybody knows something now. Like it's back in vogue now. It's back cool now. So like everyone's watching UFC and they ain't wearing tap out shirts anymore. So there's like less hints and like.
So it's really cool. Yeah, it's a big fan base. It's a big UFC, MMA.
Fights is a gangster getting in before he runs up into an officer. And like that's the thing, one of the things that or runs into you, working a client. Like that was one of the things we saw out there, I think for sure on that tactical protection review, that video, was those officers were not intimate with physical contact and they couldn't bring that comfortability to that occasion, man. And that's a huge advantage. These combatants are familiar with physical violence, and that's an advantage.
Huge. And if you learn to surrender, so my definition, if you change your definition of surrendering and not look at it as like I lost, I failed, blah, 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 blah. you just learn to flow with things, and you actually move your body, your mechanics. Even for firearms guys, when I work with them, they tell me, John, I got better at my transitions, either primary to secondary or attack reloads or whatever, different platforms. I teach guys how to move with weapons out on the ground because of my ground skills. I developed. So surrendering is my biggest thing that I learned along the way. Patience.
Dude, that was awesome. And that principle right there, there's some videos of me like 10 years ago, right, where I'm talking about surrender to what is, man. And I'm like really in a very, very philosophical lens doing this whole thing. And it's just that principle you're talking about is so important in this sense and in life, man. Like when I'm trying to create so many things, I am creating so many things. I'm doing so many things, but you guys got to understand, like the path is like roadblock. Okay. Can't go this way. And I'm just kind of, okay, gonna go this way. Okay. Gonna go this way. And when you're young in this, you get so frustrated and you try and power through the wall and hammer through the wall, and now it's just so much more like, okay, I may not win initially, I won eventually. Cool. This is the new equation. I'm going to pivot. Okay. This is the new equation. I'm going to pivot. Okay. This is the new equation. And you start finding so many ways to solve all these problems and you become better. The surrender thing is huge. It is a principle that has really helped me over the course of my life and absolutely everything. It changes your whole mindset to resistance.
Right.
It's just an equation. Right. I feel nothing. I just evolve. I feel nothing. I know, better.
Right? Isn't it
take
awesome?
Another route.
So now that's why I tell everyone, learn to be a surfer. So think about this in your world. Force on force. You obviously know that term, right?
Yeah, man.
Okay. So you can see my hand. So force on force. Right. Okay. Right. Which force wins? In force on force, which force wins?
The one that's got more force.
Right. I know it's that. Right. You're like, there's a trick here. No, you're right.
Yeah.
The bigger force, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the problem with hand-to-hand, why a lot of people struggle and they want to rely only on weapons. When you train the way most hand-to-hand programs teach, how can you guarantee you're going to be the bigger force on everyone you run into? You can't, right?
No, absolutely not.
There's no way to know what kind of punches they can deliver or take, how strong they are, their ligament tendon strength, their muscle belly insertion points. Is it a long belly?
What kind of drugs they're on?
Right. The list goes
they've
on.
Been running.
What weapons? What's their training? Are they a former D1 heavyweight wrestler who's just been boozing? He's got a beer belly now. So
they've been in prison fighting other fighting dudes for the last 8 months.
Right. To protect, And so how can, force on force is such a misnomer in the industry because that's why people get hurt also in the DT classes. They go so hard. It's like grabbing the bat. That's that force on force. Now you're going to get hurt, whether it's intentional, accidental. So force on force. How was the Grand Canyon built, right? Colorado River. Water just flowed through it until it built the biggest canyon in the world. So I teach officers, I teach EP guys, I teach them, become a surfer. Yeah. There's only two ways to deal with a big wave coming at you. One, duck dive, right? Mm-hmm. Go under the wave at the base, come up to live and tell the story again. Or two, turn around, paddle, hop up and go where the wave takes you.
Right.
You can't push the wave back into the ocean. You'll drown, you'll die, you'll smash. So that's force on force. This is the wave. This is you. Your best bet is do that or go with the wave. So that's how, this is the principle I teach officers to be a GPS and be a surfer. And I teach EP guys, you got to be able to flow. And that's why changing my definition of surrender even changed the way I teach my classes.
Well, this is some Mr. Miyagi stuff happening in here right now. This is so dope, man. This is good. I dig it, man.
Your shoulder hurt?
Good,
hey, your shoulder hurt?
Yeah, right. Serious, man. That's good. What would you say? So proudest moment in this game, doing what you're doing?
I got a lot, but I would say I'm proud of a lot I've worked my tail off for, but I would say getting my black belt from Hoist Gracie, that was, that was huge because at the time, black belts were like, what'd you say?
It's kind of cool. It's all right. It's all right. It was a cool thing.
I bought a pack of gum, but whatever. No, because, I could bore you with a million proud moments as I'm sure you could, right? But it was proud for me for a couple of reasons. Because at the time, black belts didn't exist, not under Hoist Gracie. They did not, it was like Sasquatch. Like there was rumors, but no one had seen them, right? Type deal.
Yeah.
And the first 5 that got black belts, 2 of them, one of them was my first student. to tell you how hard they were on me to hold me back so long. So they held me a long time. My first student got his black belt the day I got mine. Think about this. My student. Another guy was a student of mine. I'm not bitter at all. Nah. Hoist, you listening? Hoist, what's up, bro? So, and then the other guys, one of them got it deferred because he would fly to Grace Academy, take classes under me. And then two of the guys joined Hoist's network a year earlier and got on. But out of the first 5, really, me, 2 students who trained under me, and then 2 guys who joined after. But I didn't care because getting a black belt from Hoist Gracie, right? If you say, I'm a black belt in BJJ, and they go, cool. And you say, well, who are you under? I'm under Scott Smith. Who's that? Well, he's under Baba Boo Boo. Who's that? Who's under the great?
Where's your bloodline? Yeah.
Elio Gracie, the man created Hoist Gracie, Jon Burke. So I'm very proud of my lineage in my martial arts background. Extremely proud of that. And after that, it's my wife and kids.
Outstanding.
Don't let my wife hear that one. She's
she hopes she's gonna watch tactical stuff. Yeah,
she's totally into that.
No, I dig it, man. That's beautiful.
Cool.
That's awesome, man.
But I am proud of this, doing stuff, just meeting guys like you, not being funny, not blowing smoke like I do. I truly live this stuff in my heart. I do. And so when I get to do it, teach it, work, meet, I just next week I'm going to train some law enforcement. I'm like, I can feel the energy shifting. I get so excited to help because I get frustrated. I hate, you know what it is? I hate bullies. Every level. And I see everybody who's not good as a bully in one way or another. And I have this thing. And no, I wasn't bullied as a child. I just don't like, I don't like the lesser person in any way being picked on.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the protection. That's the protector DNA that I always talk about, man. It's like we just, a lot of guys that I have on the podcast and a lot of people out there, it's like, you just have this thing inside you. You see something like that happening, you're going to do something. You want to do, they're going to have to chain you down to have it happen in front of you. Right. And that's what we're here to do, is equip those people. We want to make the world safer by helping good people become more dangerous, more formidable, more willing, capable, and prepared. That's what this is all about, man. That's so I love that, man. What would you say? Boom, getting into the closing questions. I could literally sit here and talk with you all day. We've gone all over the place on time.
Love this stuff. Well, like-minded people can enjoy the conversation,
100%. Favorite quote, mantra, saying?
What was it? I think it's Henry Ford. Whether you think you're wrong or whether you think you can or can't, either way you're right.
Yeah.
So I believe it was Henry Ford. It's up here, right? That's why when Hoist said, he made his muscle, because I was going to fight this guy one time. The guy was 6'6", 360. Okay. I was definitely scared to death. Yeah. And I mean, anybody who says they're not scared, I just don't buy it. Right. And I mean, you're not, well, scared means I respect what could happen to me.
Right.
I respect the possible dangerous outcome. Anyway.
Fear is healthy, man. If it's
use
managed, if it's managed, it is fuel or it's debilitating, and it's all on the way, what you're doing with it in here.
Yeah, man. It's either false evidence appearing real, or face everything and rise. Which way are you going to use it, right? So with that said, I turn around and I'm like probably ghost white. Hoist looks at me, gets in my face, he's like, Burke, you scared? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm scared. This guy's 6'6", 360. He's like, so I'm 170. I go, you're not fighting. If you could mic us up, Hoist and I, it's like two idiots talking, laughing. I said, but you're not fighting him, and you're Hoist Gracie. I got to fight him. I'm Jon Burke. He's like, look at him. So I turn around. This dude was like a wall. He's like, Burke, he bleeds like you. His bones break like yours. He needs oxygen like you. He said, and you're trained and he's not. Do you trust what I've taught you? I said, yeah. He goes, then it's all right here. I was like, oh, damn. And so I never forgot that. So it's, trust. I hate when guys, let's say you walked into my gym, you're physically definitely imposing, and you walked in my gym and you get on the mat and guys are watching you and you're just being, on the mat, rough and aggressive, not a bad way.
Ominous.
Physical guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of my guys, higher belts, that kind of would shy away from you. And I'll say, hey, Bob, come here. What are you doing? Why don't you go train the Bob? I want to go train with the guy. I want to see you train with him. Yeah. He's like, he's like, do you see how? I said, so you don't believe in the skills you have? You can stop paying me. You can stop training here. And I said,
yeah.
So as the old guy who's going to be 48 in a couple months, I get on the mat.
Yeah.
I said, because I don't train like if I were to work with you, I wouldn't teach you how to deal with people. I would teach you how to deal with principles and positions and situations, not people. Because if you get on top of me on the ground in, let's say, position A, take you out and replace you with anybody in the world in position A, I'm going to treat it the same. The principles are the principles, the positions, the position. So I teach it that way. So that's kind of,
it's the wisdom, man. It's undeniable wisdom. It's control what you can control what you can control.
Surrender what you can.
Yeah, that's literally, that's the yin and yang of that whole entire thing, man. And that's, gosh, man, it just blows me away all the time how these combat principles are life principles. If you can get that yin yang down, if you can control what you can control, and then the other side of it is surrendering to what you can't and flowing with that and learning what you need to learn from the things that make you surrender, man, you become unstoppable, man. When I get punched in the face, that is the learning. That is like the filet mignon of learning. Like if I take a loss or am defeated, I'm almost just as happy as if I win, because I'm like, this just exposed me in the ways I need to be exposed. If I win, I'm scared a little bit because I'm like, I literally, like the next day after we have a live event, hundreds of people show up and it was amazing. I literally will be like, you are only as good as your next move. When I wake up that next morning, I'm like, don't believe anything anyone has to say about you. Don't listen to anyone patting you on the back. Rounds down range. That bullet has left your chamber. It's in the target. Cool. No one cares anymore. All that matters is what you can achieve. You are only as good as your next move. Don't run. And so those wins, you know what I mean? And it's like fighting the guys you could beat all the time at the gym. It's that false sense of stuff. It's like, nope, turn the page. And now we need to find that next Goliath, man. Where we at? Where we going?
Sure. Always a student, always learning, always training.
Yeah.
Like law enforcement, complacency. It's funny you just said that, because it's so important to expose yourself in the training environment. It's important. And a lot of people, I'm a classic example in this following scenario. I stayed away from soccer. Why? Because I sucked at soccer. So to me, soccer was a dumb sport, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't tell you how many guys I've worked with that, well, no, we'll just shoot. Well, let's go. Let's do this stuff too, though. You got to work on this stuff. They avoid it because they don't want to expose themselves, or the ego, or, I won't say who, but I've had some big names in IG be up close and personal with them. And from a hand-to-hand perspective, I don't know if they've just avoided it. They just, it's
right,
people
right.
all that. Like me, if I were to come do your class, let's say you're teaching firearms for EP guys class.
Right.
I would go in there and you're the instructor. I come in as if I know nothing.
Sponge, man. Yeah.
Yes, because
like this white wall behind me. Yeah.
I equate it to reading a book. Man. If I read a book today, I'm going to get one message, because I'm in a certain place in my life today that I won't be in a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. I read that book again in a year, I'm going to get an entirely new message. But if you say, hey, John, did you read this book? And I say, oh yeah, I read that. I brushed it off like I know it already. That message that I missed on the first go around might be waiting for me. And that could be a life changer. So
100%.
Always look at a move as if you've never learned it. If you showed me how to do a load in a gun, I would study your every mechanical movement, see if I could pick up one detail.
Yeah.
The people who think they know and shut down learning part, like I said, oh, I don't want to do footwork. Oh, I don't want to do it. Okay. Well, all right. If you don't do it, but when you need it, you don't want to think about it anymore,
Right. 100%. Awesome stuff, man. Let's see. Habit that you believe people should look at to make themselves better humans or better protectors.
Make your bed.
Make your bed. We're making beds, y'all. That's what's
Hey, hospital corners too. You think I'm joking? Man. So I've always enjoyed a nicely made bed. Not gonna lie.
Yes. Right.
But what motivated me was the book "Make Your Bed," by the former. Yeah, and he did a commencement speech, and I read it, and it resonated with me so profoundly. I'm not kidding. For the last 7 or 8 years only, I didn't do it my whole life. If I don't make a bed, I'm like, yeah. Like I'll get home, it'll be 8 at night. I'll say, Jamie, come on, make the bed. She's like, what are you doing? It's 8. We're going to get in bed in an hour. Because it is true. When you have a great day, isn't there nothing better than getting into a nice hotel room? The bed's been made. You get, those cold,
and it's all put together. Yeah.
Or what about you come home And it's just been one of those days, a bear of a day, and the sheets are half off, and you're like, and you're getting mad, you're fluffing the sheet. So either way, I like the idea. I do believe it's really important because it does set you up for success. I've lived it for the last 7 years, and I've seen it. So I do think that, and I think really, truly, you said earlier, ego, everyone's got one. We got to just kind of like be open. Everyone can learn. Like on Instagram, nobody knows who I am. You're a big celebrity. You're phenomenal at what you do. But that doesn't mean I might not be able to help you just because nobody knows me, right? I know, but that's also kind of the nature of society right now, right? So it's like, you'll talk to so-and-so because they have the word SEAL. Yeah. But they're not solely focused on hand-to-hand. That's 30 years of hand-to-hand. They need to know, like you said, the competencies you need. Yes. I would say humility, put the ego away is really important. As you know, that's cliche, but it is true. For guys like us who have walked in this,
ridiculously true.
Yeah. It is true.
I think yeah, no, it's good stuff. I think the ego is like masculinity, man. Like they try to talk about like toxic masculinity and all this stuff. Like masculinity is a beautiful, amazing, and extremely necessary thing for the society and life and all these things. It can be toxic. Femininity can be toxic, or it can be very beautiful and powerful and all these things. Like the ego, like me and guys like us, we take pride in our studentship, in our discipleship, our disciplined followership. We take pride in being able to walk into a classroom where there's another specialist and be like this white wall behind me and soak up everything and be respectful and learn from another specialist. Like we take pride in our servanthood and what we're here to give the world, So that's ego. Like there's ego. That's how we manage our egos, So the ego gets demonized, but it's really like, do you have a healthy ego or do you have a toxic ego, which shuts down the ability? You have to now, you're like a splatter painting behind me because everything's got to be about you validating yourself, protecting your ego because you have to tell me all these, you know what I mean? Like, and you have, I can't get anything in the freaking cup because it's full of all your stuff. So you're wasting your time and money, like that's the game, man. No, I
surrender.
Love it. It's
back to surrender. It's
man.
Surrender.
Awesome. And then the final big question, my man. Sure. How would you like to be remembered? What's this all for?
Servitude. I like helping others. I know it may not come with the people who know me. I'll say this smiling, the New York a-hole. And I get that. But anybody who knows me knows like I truly care and I'm passionate about what I do and who I help. Yeah. I mean, I'll come home from certain trips and I'll be venting to my wife, frustrated. I'm like, and I want them to get it so bad, So I would say servitude. My line, people have heard me say a million times, say, if I want you to be better at this skill more for you than you want for yourself, this relationship's not going to work. I care too much about your training. Why do you not care? So I would say I'd want to be remembered as someone who like really went above and beyond to help people. Because I do, and you do too. I mean, look what you do. It's awesome. So.
Dude, and that's just one of those values that joins us together, man. Because for me, this whole life is about how much I can contribute to people. I am focused on being as strong and smart and powerful as I can here on this planet so I can serve at higher and higher levels. And impact.
Yeah, man, because it goes like this.
Both do it. Yeah. Oh,
right. Yeah. How young are you?
I'm 36, man.
So I'll be 48 in May, right? So I'll remember this. I'll leave you with this because I know we got to hang up. We'll talk till midnight.
Right.
I had a guy, I was in my 20s. I was teaching at my gym in New York and I was all devastated over a breakup. Yep. And this old guy, he'd have to be at the time in his 50s. His name was Jules. He wore a trench coat, cigar, and drove a Lincoln. Just, So
Jules.
So he was my guy though, right? So
man.
So he was like, "What, John? What's wrong? You seem bummed today. We're doing a private lesson." I said, this girl. I told him. So he said, "Let me tell you something." This is all he said to me. From 0 to 21, life takes forever, and from 21 to 50, and then it slows down again. Yeah. I was like, I didn't get them. I was like, that has nothing to do with the girl. He's like, it has everything.
It was over. It's high level stuff, man. That's top shelf. That's black.
I was total. Right, I was a caveman of cavemen. And so he basically saying like, it's going to go, so this doesn't even matter. That's what his point was, right? Yeah. And he was right. But I had that conversation with him when I was 2026. I'm 48 in 3 months. And I remember like, it was a small, like all of a sudden I'm looking up, I'll be 50 in 2 years. I'm going, oh my God. Because think about it. You can't wait till you turn double digits. My son will be 10 this year. He's like, what am I turning to? My daughter becomes a teenager this year. Then can't wait to drive. Then I want to graduate high school, become 18. Then I want to graduate college 21. I can drink legally.
21. Yeah.
Boom. But to get to those milestones, life feels like it takes forever. When am I going to get my job?
Right.
When next thing you know, you're in college paying a mortgage, paying bills, going, I wish I could go back and be a kid again. So it just time, man. You're right. Time. I want to servitude with you, like you, man. That's why, no joke, no smoke. I'm grateful that you reach back out because I want to link with good people who I can help more with. I'm on a too small platform right now. That's what I think.
No, we're changing that. The rising tide lifts all ships at sea, brother. Man, we're gonna do some awesome stuff together. Man, this has been awesome. Where can people find you, my man?
Yes, sir. nextlevelcombatives.com. nextlevelcombatives.com. And if you happen to be flying into Orlando and you want to work out or train or just hit me up, 6levelsorlando.com is my gym website for my local gym in Orlando.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will put all of it in the show notes, brother.
Oh, wait, was I supposed to say Instagram? You're looking at me like, moron, you forgot Instagram.
Yeah, what's your Instagram handle, man?
Next Level Combatives. Next Level Combatives.
Nice.
Next Level Combatives. Yeah, thank you.
I love it, man. We're going to put you on blast. All the links will be in the write-up. You guys follow my man. He's the real deal. Like, me and John are about to do some stuff. You guys stay tuned. And, man, this has been really good, John. You're honestly, your wisdom from your experiences and the way that you've digested everything, what you're bringing to the game, I'm blown away and really excited, man, to work with you. So thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Heck yeah. Awesome. Boom.
Yo, if you're a private security professional wanting to take your game to the next level, go to executiveprotectiontrainingday.com to check out my personal success package for private security professionals. Check it out, executiveprotectiontrainingday.com. And remember, y'all, hard skills do save lives, but soft skills get you paid. Boom. Boom. And to support this podcast, go to executiveprotectionlifestyle.com and contribute to our Patreon account. That Patreon account is what helps me make this podcast possible, contributing to this brand, what we're doing here, making it so that I can bring better guests on, making it so that we can plan more events and just expand the contribution to the private security industry and also to making America a safer place. Do whatever you can, contribute whatever you can, because it makes all of these things possible. Thanks for those contributions. Yo, and before we go, I got a shout out to the sponsors, starting out with Primary Weapon Systems, PWS. They truly are the evolution of the rifle. Use Byron for 10% off. Grayman & Company, the most comfortable tactical suits in the game. Use Byron for 10% off with them. Until the next podcast, this is Byron Rodgers, protector by nature and by trade. Out. Boom.